spare a thought for the people living on lower floors. The general noise is just a lot more, right?
But according to some of these pickleball players, Terrence, school starts at 7:30 a.m. Okay, you can already hear heavy traffic, car horns from late parents, and even school announcements over the loudspeaker. The pop sounds of pickleball will become white noise.
This is like saying that the 1% increase in GST is couched within the global inflation. It's the same, but the point is that...
It's true. The GST will become white inflation. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terrence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
So, end of week, man.
Wow.
How does it feel?
Been a long week. But yeah, it's good. Another 3 episodes this week, right?
Yeah, another 3 episodes. And next week, Tristan will be back.
Yes.
Tristan will be back.
That was actually why it's been such a long week.
Yeah. So, I mean, he'll be back to, being the one to post on Reddit and do the uploads and kind of like take a load off us.
Correct.
So, Tristan, if you're listening to this, it'll be good to have you back.
Yeah, back from the holiday in green.
Defending our nation, man.
Oh, yes.
Defending our nation. Crucial role. But I mean, interesting stuff happening. Like actually, in Parliament, it's been a damn busy week, which we will get to. This week and next week is going to be damn busy.
Yeah.
Next week we also have our live show.
Yeah. Everything's just all coming at the same time.
All coming at the same time.
Yeah.
To everyone who bought your tickets, thank you so much. It's going to be a great time. Fun times.
But before we get into things, as usual, like, share, follow, subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to it, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on YouTube, because that tells the algorithm that you really like listening to this content and you want to know every time a new episode drops.
Hell yes. And if you want to work with us, you can reach us at ministryoffunny.com. That's our website, where you can drop us a message, or you can email us directly at contact@ministryoffunny.com.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
A week in Parliament.
Yes.
And a lot of the discussions there have also spilled over into the online sphere.
Yeah.
Right? And causing a lot of debate, and all the typical public figures are coming forward to say something about it.
Yeah.
What is this topic that we're talking about?
It is a reaction to a speech in Parliament that got another reaction by a particular someone that together got many reactions. So, this week is the budget debates, right? Off the back of Lawrence Wong presenting the budget 2025 last week on 18th February.
Yeah.
There was a speech there were many speeches given by many people, many MPs who, don't often speak. But there was one speech in particular, Pritam Singh's speech, that talked about the GST hike and this term that it turbocharged inflation.
Yeah.
So in response to that, NUS professor of computer science, I believe Benjamin Leong, who does typically comment on social and political issues.
Yeah.
He posted on Facebook that he was irritated by the speech, and wanted to post some clarifications to kind of debunk what Pritam Singh was saying. But the notable person who reshared Ben Leong's post was none other than Minister Shanmugam. And what he posted was something along the lines of, what did he say?
He shared it as an excellent Facebook post, right?
Excellent Facebook post, yeah, correct. Yeah. Excellent Facebook post. It was Ben Leong's post. Kelvin Cheng also was kind of like had some comments about it, and then of course the whole internet reacted IB the Internet Brigade, quite polarizing. But that's we will dive into it. But what made you want to talk about this? Because there's so much happening in Parliament, Terrence.
Yeah. We're all just off the announcement of the budget, right? And everyone's sort of the big hangover from talking about how much money would be given out in CDC vouchers and SG60 vouchers. So to hear Pritam Singh, in Parliament, then after that, sort of talk about saying that, bad decisions were being made that have made things worse, turbocharged inflation. It's quite an indictment, right? It's quite spilling cold water onto what was seen as generally positive news, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is and I would say that, his speech and the language he used and all was a lot more pointed than what I usually what I'm used to hearing from him also, right?
Ben Leong.
No, Pritam Singh
Pritam
speech.
Singh.
So I think we are getting close to election season.
Yeah.
So everyone's starting to shoot the shot, right?
Yeah.
So it was interesting that this then triggered, a lot of discussion and debates between academics and public figures and all. It's interesting to hear different perspectives. And I think also because a lot of times, in particular, Ben Leong as an academic as well, a lot of people online were very shocked that him and Shanmugam were agreeing on something. Because I think Ben Leong is seen as sometimes like he speaks up against establishment topics, right? So I think this was quite refreshing for people in the online sphere to follow as well.
And then he also kind of referred to Critical Spectator, post by Critical Spectator that backed up his claims.
Yeah.
So I think as an overall summary, I think we need to just outline what was said by Pritam.
Sure.
He had a 20 plus minute speech, but the one thing that caused all this kerfuffle was his speech component about the government's decision to raise GST. So some of the things he mentioned, one big thing that came up in the budget that was raised by other MPs as well is that for the past few years, we've had big surpluses at the end.
Yep.
And apparently the target for each year was always quite modest, quite conservative, and the surpluses were always a lot higher for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
It's either the deficit was smaller, or there was no deficit and a small surplus, or projected small surplus of a few hundred million, but then boom, 6 billion.
Yeah.
So in view of that, a lot of MPs gave different accounts, gave different perspectives. But one thing that Pritam pointed out was that if there was a fiscal surplus of 6.8 billion in 2020, projected for 2025, 6.4 billion for 2024, when the original estimate was 778 million.
Yeah.
Why was there a reason to do the GST hike at that point in time? And that there was ample policy space, which is something he said, to delay the second GST hike when the country was in the thick of inflation. So this is something he said also, and I quote, "Why the PAP went headlong and headstrong into raising GST and thereby turbocharging inflation further is something only the PAP itself can answer." 1% hike in GST does not necessarily mean a 1% rise in expenses like the price of coffee due to incremental costs. And that the handout, the CDC vouchers, may cushion it, but the increased GST will stay forever. So that was the crux of his GST discussion.
Yeah.
And then
But you missed out the very crucial part.
Which was what?
He said that the government has shown poor fiscal marksmanship.
Oh, yeah.
Bobo shooter. He accused
Bobo shooter.
He accused the government of being the Bobo shooter. The guy, anyone who's been through NS, you get your marksman thing, but then there's always that one dude who, after multiple tries, just can't get his marksman. So
basically, he was saying that
Yeah.
But the term also quite interesting poor fiscal marksmanship.
Yeah,
but I think it's a term that's been used before. I think they quoted their previous speeches. But generally like what you said, a lot more pointed that, hey, PAP, you got to do better what you did was not good, right? So then Ben Leong responded, and how would you sum up his response?
I think his response actually it was more Kelvin Cheng who first responded.
True. Then Ben Leong responded to Kelvin Cheng.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. He just responded in a comment and then subsequently posted it. So I think Kelvin Cheng said that he actually agrees with one point that the Pritam said and disagreed with another point. So the point that he disagrees with Pritam about is essentially why need to collect, why even need to raise GST, right? Because I think he talks and he gives a lot of examples about how Singapore's future expenditure, we need to save for a lot of challenges that are coming up with aging society, etc. So he thinks it's wrong to say that there's no need to raise GST.
Because the other income taxes all have different consequences.
Yeah, not as predictable or not as you wouldn't
different types
you can't plan for that as much.
Yeah.
But he agrees with Pritam that GST should not have been increased during a time of record global inflation. It makes it's basically a very bitter pill to swallow for everyone, and all the vouchers and handouts are not going to change this feeling. So he said Pritam has swung a very big blow at the government, and it's up to the PAP now to persuade the electorate otherwise. So that was Kelvin Cheng, and then Ben Leong responded to that, right?
Yeah.
And how you characterize what Ben Leong said?
I mean, he used an analogy. He literally said, he also was quite pointed lah. I did find Pritam's speech in Parliament pretty irritating, and here I see Kelvin Cheng spouting nonsense that I don't agree with. So I thought I would only share my 2 cents. Then he said, let's look at the math lah. Basically, if I were to sum up the analogy he used, that so let's say there was no Ukraine war, which was one big reason for the supply chain going to shit and raising costs, right?
Global inflation.
Yeah. If there was a GST increase of 1%, coffee stall owners are not going to increase it from $1 to $1.01. Yeah. They would increase it to 1.10 because they want to just end up making more money as a business. And he said that, they shouldn't be blamed. And what if there was a percentage of inflation he labeled as X and no GST? Well, because of the war, because of the global factors, the price of coffee would have increased to 1.10 regardless. Is the inflation plus GST going to change the price of pork? But again, if the coffee shop uncle wants to increase his price of coffee, that is profiteering, which as a business, you should expect them to do. So sooner or later, it will increase.
Yeah.
So then he said that if there was a small chance that there was inflation, the GST, but it's still kind of like less than $10, if a product is $10, increasing it by 10 cents would be sufficient. That means it would be, the impact would be smaller in a period of high inflation as opposed to a period of low inflation.
Yeah.
And I think what he's saying by that is that, okay, if everything is increasing and all that, yeah, there's a 1 percentage point increase, the impact overall is less.
Yeah.
But if there's no other cost factors that are being increased and there's a GST increase, the impact will be higher.
Yeah.
Which I guess that's what he's trying to say lah.
Yeah, essentially it's almost like you couch the 1% GST increase in other inflationary pressures, right?
Yeah.
So that people don't feel that 1% as much.
Yeah. So if things are increasing by 15%, 1% of 115% is smaller than 1% on 100% when there's no increase.
Yeah. The feeling that people have.
The feeling.
Yeah.
And then he said some analogy, even if, he said that, Pritam pointed out the problem with CDC vouchers. His point was that everybody's getting $800. Let's say GST is around 10%.
Yeah.
You would have to spend $80,000 as a household to incur $800 worth of GST.
And the increase, right?
Yeah, the increase. That 1%.
Yeah, the 1% increase.
And he was saying how many households actually spend 80,000. So Lawrence Wong is giving you back more. So it's almost like giving you free money.
Yeah.
And then he pointed that, it's the foreigners and tourists who paid more GST last year than Singaporeans. He quoted an article by some stats by Critical Spectator talking about how GST historically has actually not resulted in more inflation when it has been raised in the past.
Yeah.
And then Shanmugam shared that very succinctly, saying, excellent post by Professor Ben Leong on GST and budget. So that's the context.
Yeah.
If you felt we were spewing a whole bunch of shit, trust me, we could have spewed even more shit, but hopefully that gives you an idea of what was being discussed. So, Terence, as my fellow non-economist practitioner, what do you make of all this debate?
I think it's also important to know who are making these arguments, right? Kelvin Cheng is a political commentator, right? Ex-NMP, everything. So I think he's coming from an angle of the politics of things and how the electorate will respond to various policies, right?
Yeah, and self-proclaimed business mogul.
AI adopter, early adopter of AI, investor, whatever. Whereas Ben Leong is, like you mentioned, a professor of computer science. And his argument is a lot more, he even puts mathematics in there. And so you can tell he's looking at it from a quite a narrow viewpoint of what Pritam said, right? And he himself, one of his summary statements is, what turbocharging is Pritam talking about? So you can tell that he has gone into really looking at the word turbocharging inflation that Pritam used, right? And so in that very narrow definition, I think both Ben Leong and a Critical Spectator with the data and the facts have pointed out that, maybe in light of the whole global situation of global inflation and everything, the increase in GST has not turbocharged inflation that in any way. It's not had that any kind of material impact on actual inflation around the world, right? So, but yeah, that's the thing. Like you understanding where Ben Leong's coming from and his context of what he's arguing versus what Kelvin Cheng is arguing. I think Kelvin Cheng's argument is really more about the politics than the actual economics of things, right? Where it's more about the perception, like what we're talking about, the feeling that people have versus what the actual reality is in terms of numbers, right? So I think they're actually arguing about very different things. And in some ways, Ben Leong's post is so narrow that it almost feels a bit tone deaf, where it doesn't take into account how people feel and react to the daily realities of cost of living and things like that.
Yeah. But then do you think that there is a point there that what Pritam said about turbocharging inflation is incorrect?
Yeah, I think technically looking at it, it probably is incorrect. And I think the data and what Ben Leong was, the example that he raised, probably gives ammunition to argument that Pritam Singh was basically sensationalizing the impact that GST rise had on inflation, right? But I mean, the argument that a lot of people also talk about is the profiteering that some businesses also engage in whenever there's an increase in GST, right? And that's not something that we have a lot of data on or the actual statistics of how much profiteering there was, but a lot of anecdotes. And you just walk on the ground, you go to a hawker center or what, you will see the prices have gone up by more than 1% for sure, or even more than whatever the inflation percentage was. People are talking about like 50-cent increases on a $3 meal at a hawker center, or even more than that, like $1, one whole dollar increase, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's what Pritam Singh and maybe even Kelvin Cheng are arguing about the GST increase and how it has, basically pushed people to like, let's all just raise prices altogether at the same time, right? Yeah. So that's the part that I think they are arguing from different places.
So I mean, just to use like my own analogy, let's say if every day like I send you like a WhatsApp, right?
Yeah.
That annoys you, right?
That's every day, yeah.
Let's say
They're talking about realities on the ground. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so let's say hypothetically, if I start sending you like 2 messages a day that annoy you, right? And suddenly I start sending you a third message.
Yeah.
So would you say that is turbocharging your annoyance with me? Or let's say I tell you, hey Terence, I got this new subscription that is going to auto send you messages every hour. So to me, the latter would be turbocharging it.
Yeah.
But the former is just making it a bit more annoying.
Just one more only, right?
Just one more. It's not turbocharging your annoyance.
It's not turbocharging.
It's almost like a linear kind of thing.
The annoyance is there already.
Yeah.
You're not making me like super much more
It's just one more percentage points of annoyance.
Yeah, correct.
But if I get an app that sends you something like every time you look at your phone, that is turbocharging it because it's like an exponential thing.
Correct. Yeah.
So I would say, I would also say that, okay, turbocharging, maybe not the most literal term, but I mean, he's also giving a speech in Parliament. But I will say that it is a bit sensationalist. It is a bit like, not fear-mongering, but kind of extrapolating it or painting an image that is not the most accurate. But
how dare you stooge of the establishment?
No, but by
dare
the same accord, what Ben Leong and Critical Spectator and Shanmugam are doing is the opposite. But they are also painting a different picture on just a few cold hard facts. And I think the one thing that I think no one can, I mean, I would imagine no one would deny is that politically, as a message from a politician, cost of living is on everybody's minds. When you say you have a budget surplus of that much, yes, you want to plan for the future. But then the GST thing, it just feels like, as a layperson, I'm like, but then it just feels like, okay, you're telling me, yes, everything is expensive, you're giving me this, but you're still going ahead with this when the budget surplus, even without doing the numbers, it sounds like, but do you need to? And that is the thing that I think even Kelvin Cheng said, politically, it is a smart thing, which is what he said. Pritam, dealt a heavy blow to the PAP.
Yeah.
Because it is true, like, a lot of people vote not just rationally, emotionally. And politically, it would have been super powerful if, can you imagine if the PAP said, we understand this. We're doing all we can to couch the blow in the short term with CDC vouchers, but we are also delaying GST hike. Wow, win already.
Yeah.
I think win already. And I think, so unfortunately, this one speech, you have people going in two extremes lah.
Yeah.
Which is where it's like, fuck lah guys, like, can you all be a bit more less extreme in your feedback lah?
But I mean, props to Kelvin Cheng. I don't think he was being super extreme lah, right?
Yeah. No, not him.
I thought his perspective was, he's coming from an angle of like, let's really think about how people will perceive Pritam's speech, right?
Yeah.
So, we can disagree on the use of the word turbocharging, but there are certain things about the timing of the GST increase and all that, make logical sense, right?
Yeah.
And I think, so it's funny just when I was reading this, and about a year ago, there was an interesting article that was posted about a speech that Tharman made against having a 2-step GST hike in 2007 when GST went up from 5 to 7%. It was just a 2% immediate rise. They didn't do this whole 2-step thing. And Tharman himself said that, the 2-step thing is beneficial because, there's less chance of profiteering that businesses can do to raise prices twice. But secondly, also businesses also save costs because they don't have to adjust their procedures twice, right? So it just makes sense to do it in one shot. But now, for some reason, we've committed to do this GST rise. We've done this GST rise in 2-step increases. And people feel the pinch year after year.
Yeah.
And so it's just not been a pleasant experience. But, do you think there's been a lot of profiteering based on this 2-step GST rise that you felt?
That is the thing that is hard to say, like, confirm that it must be because of that. But the one thing that I do feel is prices have gone up.
Yeah.
Is it solely attributed to the 1% GST? I don't think so. But could the GST have had an impact? Probably lah.
I won't say profiteering per se, right? Because that one's hard to quantify in the age of global inflation, right? In unprecedented inflation. But there were a lot of instances, I think you can find online, where there were, say, interior design companies that went to their clients and said, pay us, this price now to secure this rate because like after 1st January is like another 1% increase already. And then some people, and they paid in advance to these interior design firms. Then after that, interior design firms disappeared. And so it's became like a scam like that. So there was a lot of urgency in people trying to avoid the GST rise, making big purchase decisions that later came back to bite them, right? So that's where having the 2-step increase, it alters our consumption behavior in ways that we would not normally do. We would not normally do this kind of thing, right? Rush to pay up for something in advance. But just to save 1%, right?
It basically gives opportunities for people to do some annoying shit. Right?
Yeah.
And even if you look at the argument from Ben Leong, the one example of the coffee shop, right? He said, if there is an increase by 1%, will our $1 coffee become $1.01? It won't happen. It will become 1.10. At no point does he kind of point out that the one thing that I also didn't think about until I researched this when we talked about GST last time is, yes, a 1% increase in GST, the end price of a product like coffee, which has multiple inputs, might not necessarily increase by just 1%.
Yeah.
Because the price of coffee and anything and all those will increase by 1%. So it compounds. Yeah. Then I saw some people saying that, but if there is a supply chain, the interim businesses can reclaim GST, which is something we have experienced. If you're GST registered, you pay GST for a service, you can claim it back. Right? Yeah. But not every company is GST registered.
Yeah. Especially smaller companies.
If you're small, if your revenue is not past 1 million, you're not mandated to be GST registered. And I think once you GST register, there are a lot of other things that you need to deal with.
Yeah.
So it just feels like, it is a bit too simplified. And that's where it feels... then it's almost like a false analogy. And then you have Critical Spectator bringing up some stuff about, he has one image, did GST increase inflation? So then he looks at, I think, previous years, 2022, 2023, 2024, whether inflation in Singapore was not higher than in other developed nations of Southeast Asia during changes to GST. But it almost feels when you look retroactively, you can kind of pull what's that saying? It's causation, not like
correlation.
Correlation or
not
something.
causation, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, when you look retroactively, you can always join the dots.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate it when people tell me that in person. No?
Tell you what? Like about correlation and causation?
Yeah, I just had at least a few conversations where I'm talking, then someone says, that's actually causation, not correlation, but carry on. Then I'm like, hey, you don't fucking stop me half sentence and you give me this condescending piece of shit line. You explain yourself.
Okay.
So
did they explain themselves?
I don't think so. I think they just moved on.
Oh, they just
yeah, or maybe back then I was a bit less like, hey, what the hell are you?
Wait, I thought you just said it happened recently.
Oh no, not recently. It's just a chip on my
okay.
shoulder.
I see.
It just burned in my head.
Yeah.
So I hate that phrase.
Okay.
But this one, when you're looking back, it just feels like you're just joining the dots. And I think another post by Critical Spectator also pointed out that the inflation in Singapore compared with other developed nations was still lower. I think it was 15.6% in Singapore.
Yeah.
The US was 18.7%, Europe. And making that comparison, Singapore inflation was not as bad as other developed countries. So kudos to the system for working. But like what you said, it feels like all these arguments are kind of part of the problem. The way they phrase it and the way they either use a term that is sensationalist or just focus on that term and try and debunk it and paint a different picture.
I mean, Pritam's a master orator, right?
Yeah.
The whole now step up has become his hashtag even after being convicted and everything. And now using the word turbocharging, that's like that's the word of the week, right?
Turbocharging.
Turbocharging inflation, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's politics. He's doing what he needs to do. That's his job, right? But I think I would say I would hope that the people, the public figures and academics who comment on it, look at it more holistically, right? Than just from a very narrow point of view.
And also for people I see a lot of posts saying, I'm not as smart as Professor Ben Leong. He must be correct and all that. And it almost feels like if you speak authoritatively online about any particular topic, there will be people who would believe you just because you are authoritative.
Correct. But you must have the CV to back it up.
Yeah, I mean, he's a professor. He's a professor.
I mean, he was involved in the whole recent... I think he was sued by Iris Co and all, right? And then after that he had people come together to help him establish a fund to help other people, facing lawsuits and stuff like that as well, right?
And I mean, I think in the past we have highlighted certain posts he makes that are actually very good and very thought provoking. Just in this case, it does feel like unless we're missing something,
feels a bit simplistic, right?
Feels a bit simplistic. But it's interesting to see the debate online also. In this case, I think Kelvin Cheng's post was the most measured.
That's right.
All right.
Most measured and considers all all facets, right?
And the reality that economics and numbers are one thing, but politics is another.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
So interesting. Interesting.
But it's that time of the election cycle, right?
Yeah, it is.
Where people have to make noise about certain issues that are close to the hearts of residents, right? In Singapore. But there's another group of people making a lot of noise, and the residents around them are not actually enjoying them making noise about this, right? What is this? Who are this group of people?
I mean, two groups. The more recent group is Pickleball players.
Yeah.
But the first group that was kind of like ticked off were the residents around a particular pickleball court at Marine Parade. So I think like a few days ago, there was an article that, some residents of Marine Crescent in Marine Parade have been losing sleep due to loud noises from a group of pickleball players using a multipurpose court near Block 47. And I think the court, it's open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily. So there was...
Now it's changed.
It was. When the article was written about the residents, it was 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. And that some of the residents have made complaints to the Marine Parade Town Council. And then the Town Council, in response, restricted the court usage from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. instead. So 1 hour of morning use cannot use. So then the pickleball people now...
1 hour morning, and half an hour less in the evening also, right? Because it used to be 8 a.m. to 9:30. Now it's 9 to 9.
Okay. Oh no, so according to some pickleball players who wrote into Stomp of all websites, players could previously start their games as early as 7:30 a.m., but in February the hours were changed to 8 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. More recently, it is now 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah.
So the 7:30 a.m., I don't know whether it was an informal thing or not, but like the official one was 8 a.m. to 9:30, whereas now they are losing an hour and a half lah. So some pickleball players said, like, it's so nice to be able to start your day with a pickleball game, and now we cannot.
Yeah.
There's 1 hour of sunlight lost.
Yeah.
Isn't this going against all the need for kampong spirit? We often play and then go for breakfast together. It is a public space, why can't we use it? So I know you have your own thoughts about pickleball players and the sport of pickleball. So what do you think, Terence?
You mean about the sport of pickleball?
No, as in just about this whole debacle.
I think noise is a very subjective thing also, right? Between individuals, some people can tahan the noise, they can block it out. But then there are some that, like, any little bit of just like rustling or what, and their sleep is ruined for the whole night already, right? So it's very hard to generalize on both sides. Like, hey, why are you being so niao about noise? And then the other side is like, why are you being so inconsiderate, right? But the fact remains, pickleball is a much noisier sport than say tennis or badminton, right? Other racket sports. And I think we're still in the stage of like trying to understand what the effects are on the environment. But pickleball is just growing so fast in popularity. It's taking over badminton courts. It's taking over certain tennis courts, basketball courts. I've heard even. That now we're starting to see residents push back against it. Yeah. But how about you? What do you think of pickleball, man?
I mean, like, I will say that I think everybody, should play sports, exercise, have these team sports, sports where you can interact with community and all. But pickleball, right? The noise, right?
Yeah.
Is really the noise travels.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's loud, yes. But it's not like fucking like a crane or drilling in one of those construction sites. But the sound travels.
Very jarring.
Very jarring. And our flat is on the 11th floor.
Yeah.
And maybe like 100 meters away, there is a court there in the middle of the housing estate. And even I don't have to stand near the door, and I can hear the katak, katak. And it starts damn early. Like the pickleball players, right? They are like very motivated. And I can imagine it being fun. Because I like playing ping pong.
Yeah.
Tennis is like very technical, so it's not the easiest to pick up.
Yeah.
This one feels like it's a middle ground. So it sounds theoretically very fun, and I'm sure I will love it. But the noise, it does surprise me, because I'm just thinking, what about the people who live on the second floor overlooking the court?
Yeah.
Must be fucking annoying.
Yeah.
And that's where I think pickleball, right, is like it's like the new PMD, PMD on the path.
Yeah, correct.
And I do feel that, why does the ball need to be so plastic?
Easier to hit. It's lighter, right? For sure. And it can travel more easily.
Yeah. But, if you look at a floorball, right, it's plastic, but it doesn't have that katak noise. It's still a bit softer.
Yeah. I think there are efforts to try and use materials that create less noise for pickleball.
Yeah.
Because it's not just Singapore that is facing this issue. That literally when you search for pickleball noise,
it's
like
a thing globally, is it?
Yeah, the articles and papers written about it.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, solutions on noisy pickleball courts. Game on, volume down, tackling the pickleball noise issue.
Yeah. So I would say that there's something that needs to change. But for you?
I do, I think recently also, because I live on a lower floor, right?
Yeah.
Recently also I've had this issue where people on higher floors don't realize like how easily noise travels, right? And then, whether they're blasting their radios or whatever downstairs, things like that. When you live on the lower floors, you can really hear it, right? And then they'll say, and this literally happened to me, and then some of the neighbors on higher floors were like, just close your windows, what's the big issue, that kind of thing.
They said that?
Yeah. And they said, why must...
For music or pickleball?
Loud music. Music. And and it was kind of annoying because it's literally like, okay, I'm not bothered by it. Why are you being bothered by it? Just close your windows, right? And that means that I would need to close my windows, and the air circulation wouldn't be great in my area, my room and all that, right? But I just felt like, that's where people always feel like their own perception or their experience of something is like the most common experience. If I'm not bothered by the noise, why should anyone else be? But when you stay on the lower floors, there's a lot of things beyond just like, noise from people the noise from stuff like pickleball. There's also other kinds of noise you have to deal with, like cars, driving past the block and things like that, right? And even loud people just talking loudly or smoking and talking and things like that. You can hear all that, right? Then you add on the pickleball element to it. It just pushes you over the edge, right? So maybe if you live on a slightly higher floor, you hear the only thing you hear is just the pickleball thing, but you don't hear all the other stuff like the cars and all that. But it just has spare thought for the people living on lower floors, where the general noise is just a lot more, right?
But according to some of these pickleball players, Terrence, school starts at 7:30 a.m. Okay, you can already hear heavy traffic, car horns from late parents, and even school announcements over the loudspeaker. The pop sounds of pickleball will become white noise.
This is like saying that the 1% increase in GST is couched within the global inflation. It's the same, but the point is that
it's true. The GST will become white inflation,
But it's just that know that pickleball, that particular noise that it makes, that jarring noise it makes, it's just like you can't tell people to stop. Stop your school, stop driving your kids stop driving to office, stop sending your kids to school. But you can ask a group of 4 people who are playing pickleball, do you really need to add the extra 1% of noise or that one jarring sound to my daily symphony of noises in the morning?
But Terrence, they have become a close-knit group who share playing tips and even have breakfast together after a game. Isn't that bringing back the kampong spirit to Marine Parade?
Can I just do it between 9 to 9 p.m. No? No one said you can't do it. I just said don't do it so early, right?
But Terrence, the court was built for Marine Parade GRC residents to stay active, and restricting play to hours when the sun is already out will only see the courts used for 3 hours a day. This is a complete waste of public funds.
Then do like Tai Chi in the morning first, warm up ready, then do pickleball at 9 a.m. Right?
Yeah, and okay, so I think this is just going to get worse, because I don't think either side is going to back down. And you can understand both their perspectives.
Yeah.
I just think there needs to be a softer ball.
Yeah.
And I really don't understand, because even wiffle ball,
wiffle ball.
You know that ball for people who want to like play baseball or softball, they pitch that, it has holes.
Yeah.
But the plastic that is made of, same with floorball, is a bit softer. So I don't understand why pickleball needs to be until like that. I guess like ping pong also it's a bit noisy but a much more contained thing. And because there is so much history, you're not going to get some new paddle or something, right? But these pickleball players, I don't think they are competing in the Olympics of pickleball.
Yeah.
Right? I just feel there needs to be some innovation, because I don't think people are going to back down. And it's getting fucking popular. Like I see the people playing, they come like they're organized. They do drills, because I guess pickleballs are not like super expensive, the balls itself.
Yeah.
So I've seen this one guy by himself just hit like 20 balls and then go collect it, go to the other side, hit. I'm like, wow, bro.
Maybe he's a pro. Maybe he's a pro.
Can you be a professional pickleball player?
Yeah, there are leagues and everything.
Not pro lah, semi-pro lah.
Semi-pro lah, yeah. Maybe.
Or amateur leagues and all, which, by all well, if people are active, I'm not sure. But, and I live like 11th floor, thankfully, and I can still hear it. If I was living right next to, or maybe all the people playing are the people who live on the second floor. I don't know.
Maybe.
But, yeah.
But I mean, then why, you're just being like a uncle, right?
I guess
who's unhappy about something that young people or other people enjoy, then for you it's like
these people are not uncle, not necessarily young. I've seen uncles and aunties also. So in some way it's nice, because unlike tennis, which is a bit exclusive,
tennis is like a lot of self-selection involved in the whole process. Yeah.
Pickleball is very accessible, which is great.
Yeah.
But I'm also thinking, like, for these people, like 7:30 you start playing, the whole 3 blocks can hear.
Yeah.
What is going through your mind? Like, it's like, I mean, everyone kind of knows, just like, is it something you enjoy, or I don't know. It's just weird.
But there's a function of the fact that it's a lot, because a lot of people, anyone can pick up pickleball, right? Young and old. So I think a lot of older people pick it up because it's less taxing on the knees compared to, whether basketball or whatever, badminton even.
Yeah.
It's a lot less taxing. So older people wake up earlier also, right?
Yeah.
So 7:30 is like, it's late for them.
It's like noon for them.
It's like noon already. 7:30 they already had probably had two meals, and then already this is the start more than the start of the day already. They're halfway through the day, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, asking them to play at 9:00, it does get very hot in Singapore.
I mean, the day starts, there's work day and all.
So what other solution you have besides just calling for the ban of pickleballs or changing technology? Because technology, I mean, even if there's a better ball, people might not want to use it. They might have gotten addicted to the pickleball makes already. They need to have it then Shiok to play it, right? It's like the noiseless basketball that came out recently. It's a bit weird because you really cannot hear the ball at all. And that's part of the game, right?
So let's say I'm like the MP for Marine Parade.
Yeah. How would you be the judge in this situation?
The judge. Yeah, like you have any ideas off the top of your head?
I would do something to incentivize the pickleball players to start a bit later lah. Like maybe if they come at 9 a.m., 8:30 a.m. got a free breakfast spread for people to come and play pickleball lah. So, but it'll be in the middle of the court and everything, so you cannot play. But you're mingling, right? You're mingling with other pickleball players, and then 9 o'clock, then you start you open the court.
But this one, it is free lah. You don't book it, right?
Correct. Yeah, you don't. But actually, I was thinking even if they book it also doesn't make a difference.
So then you have a price lah.
Okay. Then it's just limiting the number of people who can play.
Then you want to play 7 to 8 p.m. It's $200 per hour.
Okay, there's something there. Yeah, maybe if you want to do you want to do the 8 to 9 a.m., you pay more, and that money goes towards the town council
for noise isolating
isolating windows.
You want to play at 3 a.m. also can. It's $4,000 an hour. Yeah, you're more than welcome. But all this will go towards defraying the cost for everyone around.
Yeah. Wow, that's a great solution, man.
Yeah, it's just...
You're like Trump like that.
Yeah, it's capitalism. Capitalism is the solution to everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, no, I'm not saying it should be charged lah. But I think, this kind of thing, I mean, in some sense, like you're doing home renovation, right? There are limitations. You can't do it before 9, right?
Yeah.
So in these sort of things, okay, but then here's the thing. What if you want to play badminton?
Mm-hmm.
Then badminton 8 a.m. can? 8 a.m. can? Or is this new change changing it for all? Because if it's changing it for all, right, then to the badminton players who are just, then they suffer also.
Yeah, correct.
And that's not cool for them.
Yeah. But I mean, we have, say, for example, we've banned football from void decks, right?
Yeah, forever.
You can't play football in void decks, but you can still play badminton, right?
Yeah.
So, I think you can differentiate between the sports that way also. What?
But that means this rule, is it hard and fast, or is it just for pickleball?
Just for pickleball. Because of the noise of pickleball. I think it's okay to differentiate between sports, right? Because we have done it for football already.
Yeah.
So why not do it for other sports that are causing inconveniences?
And I mean, I just Google silent pickleball.
Yeah.
You can get a silent pickleball from Shopee.
Yeah.
For $5.98.
Yeah, so there's another way.
It's foam.
There's another way that money can solve the problem now, right?
Yeah.
The government can subsidize pickleballs for silent pickleballs.
They just give you foam pickleballs. You get a CDC voucher to go and buy pickleballs.
Yeah.
Because, I don't think you should discourage sport. But there are quieter pedals. There are quieter balls. So even the USA pickleball as a quiet category that recognizes pickleball products that reduce noise without affecting performance. So if there are options and people are not choosing them, then I would say, hey, pickleball players, you have to be considerate. You have to be considerate. Yeah, so there is a USA pickleball quiet category compliant pedal.
Yeah.
So, so it can reduce the noise level by quite a bit.
But I mean, how about the argument that whatever it is, even if it's 9 a.m. or 8 a.m., everything, there are people, who work night shift and then they need to sleep in the morning and all. Do you think they have grounds to still be upset even if there's if it's maintained at 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.?
I think that one a bit harder because if let's say you have to do home renovation or drilling, right?
Yeah.
If someone has a night shift and they are sleeping during the day and they tell me, hey, you can't drill because I need to sleep. I'll also be like, hey, sorry, man. I can't do it any other time.
Yeah. Life needs to go on, right?
Life needs to go on.
Yeah.
So I would say the best solution is silent pickleball. Maybe I try. Maybe next time I got a thing, I was like, guys, here's a link. If you scan this QR code, or maybe I've bought 50 silent pickleballs.
Yeah.
Can you all please try it? just try lah. You might have to change the way you play and all, but then everyone can live together lah.
Yeah. Has to be done. Yeah. Something has to be done. Because if it's just proliferating like nothing like that.
It's crazy, yeah. It's crazy. And I mean, part of living in a community, I would like to think that, like me and my wife, we haven't done anything that pisses off our neighbors.
Oh, really?
I hope lah.
Never asked.
I hope, but I do think that living in such proximity, you need to do a give and take lah.
Yeah, especially nowadays, everything's just getting smaller.
Yeah.
Our spaces are all getting smaller. You just need to, have to give and take.
Yeah, and not everybody might have the same worldview as you. And you just need to give and take.
Yeah, an hour of sleep could be a lot more important than the kampong bonding that the 4 people want to have, right?
But silent fucking pickleballs.
Yeah.
There are silent pickleballs out there. Amazon. You can get a ball of, it's all foam lah, so you won't have the katak lah.
Yeah.
But, still feels like it's okay lah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
But yes. So, what is your one Shiok comment to end the week?
My one Shiok comment. Do you have something?
Yes, mine's on YouTube. Let me just quickly pull it up.
Mine was on Spotify.
Yeah. Okay. It's always like this, lah. I mean, it's great that we get a lot of comments, but sometimes we need to trawl through because the irritating thing about YouTube is that after I respond to a comment, it somehow disappears from my feed, which is annoying.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a comment.
Okay.
This is the one that I saw on the episode 624, fewer jobs for fresh grads in SG and flying with the cops for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So Fazlan, who commented on Spotify, awesome episode. Love listening to both your perspectives on the employment scene for graduates in Singapore in current times. Interesting to see how digitalization would affect iron rice bowls in times to come. And I'm an avid listener of your podcast, but the thing that stood out to me was we are apparently his go-to source that keeps him close to Singapore because he works and resides in Europe.
Okay.
Yeah, so Fazlan, I assume you're a dude. Why Guten Tag?
I'm just guessing he's in Germany. I don't know. I just imagine that he's in Germany.
Really?
Yeah. If not, where else? Au revoir.
London,
whatever. France, whatever.
London. You never know. Portugal, Spain.
Yeah.
But Europe, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, we are going to keep you super close to what's going to be happening in the lead up to the elections.
Yep.
So cheers, man.
Yeah.
What about you?
Mine's on the YouTube video for the last episode, 624, about the jobs for fresh graduates. Gooberts asks, is Terence an NBA fan? The fact that you know about the G League is like a bright beacon all of a sudden for a lifelong NBA fan in me. Harish's butchering of Luka Doncic's last name and the Grizzles was just hilarious. But his Kawamura story is absolutely spot on. His confidence in himself is truly inspiring, and he has shattered all the NBA stereotypes. Might have been the best one Shiok thing I've heard after a dozen episodes.
So I butchered it at the start, but it still ended up
you
being...
You redeemed yourself.
Power.
But yes, I am a big NBA fan.
Yeah.
But you don't hear me talk a lot about it because Harish, he literally called Luka Doncic, or what? Dokic. So it's like speaking a different language to him. So I've occasionally spoken a little bit about basketball as my one Shiok thing here and there, right?
Yeah.
But I think we talk more about football. Football is like the...
Yeah. But why you think that just because I don't watch, I cannot appreciate basketball? Then you fucking give me things to appreciate lah.
Give you what things to appreciate? It's there already.
Because
it's called the NBA.
Because it feels like inside you're like, oh, look at this Harish, this idiot, ignorant prick who does not understand NBA. But are you doing anything to change that?
Yeah, my occasional one Shiok thing.
Yeah, occasional. Yeah. But apart from that, you just harbor this grudge against me.
No, because it's very... I think for you are someone until like some tech bro or something recommends something. I can tell you a million times, hey, watch this. But when some tech bro recommends it, you're like, wow, that was damn good, I love it, I love this thing.
Yeah, don't be
you're always some influencer on X or something.
You're being a pot and calling the kettle fucking black. Okay,
no.
many things.
I'm very open-minded.
Please, that's what a close-minded person would say. Oh yeah, I'm not drunk. I tell you I'm not drunk. Yeah. But at least he or she enjoyed the one Shiok thing.
Correct.
One Shiok comment. That one Shiok thing, which is now your one Shiok comment.
Yeah, I watch a lot of analysis about like NBA statistics and NBA performances in the past. Because I think that's the cool thing about the US sports media. They really dissect things from the past, right? And make you understand the context of which a lot of things appear in the strategy and how a lot of sporting plays and things like that happen, right? Whereas in Singapore we don't get much of that, right? Like no one talks about how Singapore fared in the recent tournament. What was it? What cup was it? The one where Singapore got to the semi-finals.
AFC.
AFC. Yeah. I can't remember but the last football tournament. Yeah, there's no like post-mortem or anything to talk about what happened and all that much. Or at least nothing that has really come
like
forward
a video essay on like the 1994 Malaysia Cup.
Yeah. And then I mean they focus on the personalities and the politics, but how about the play itself and the strategy and all that, right? Yeah.
Cool.
So, cool.
And what about your one Shiok thing, man?
My one Shiok thing is a trailer that just came out for a new Terminator game. It's called Terminator 2D, No Fate. And it's actually a 2D action side-scroller developed by the company Bitmap Bureau. So it's pretty cool because it's in the old style of, Golden Axe and all those kind of old Sega games. So it's a side-scroller, but it's of the whole Terminator 2 storyline. So you know that Terminator 2 has that classic scene where Arnold Schwarzenegger is on a motorcycle with John Connor, and then they're being chased by a truck down the expressway.
Yeah.
So you play in a side scroller, that whole scenario and everything. So it looks pretty fun. I enjoy these side scrollers, and the graphics are not like. Then they're a lot better than what like side scrollers look like in the 80s.
Because side scroller is like 16-bit, the kind of like
8-bit kind. But this one, it looks pretty cool. I'm looking forward to play this.
Would you believe it that my one Shiok thing is also a game?
Can't wait for this. If only Tristan was here, I can't wait for his eyes to roll and Harish starts talking about games.
No, but this one is it's a locally developed game.
I think I've heard of this also.
It is a thing called Scarred.
Touche.
Yeah, see? Fucking ready to shit on it without even hearing it. It's called, it's a puzzle horror game called Scarred. And it's apparently like the 7th game by a local game developer who goes by the name of Chu Bin Yong, who goes by the name of Coax Studios. So this whole thing, right, is a first person game. You are a student solving a mystery involving a former classmate that went missing. But the coolest thing is that it's set in like a twisted version of a HDB estate in Singapore.
Yeah.
And the trailer, I think the game is launching next month, but there's a trailer
17 April.
17 April. So the trailer is damn cool. You see like the corridor and like these things that are distinctly Singaporean. And it looks pretty dope, man. Yeah. So yeah, Terrence, I can appreciate other things. There's the HDB lift. HDB estate, almost like an MRT. Cool, man.
Yeah. No, this would have been a one Shiok thing if I had remembered to.
Whatever.
This would have been my one Shiok thing.
Whatever, you saw it already. Yeah, you saw it. Yes, Terrence.
The question is, will you play it?
That is debatable.
That's the question.
Hey, I'm still giving a shout out to a locally made game. Okay, whether I play it or not is inconsequential.
I think what we'll do
I might.
We'll pressure Tristan into playing the game. And then after we'll just keep badgering him with questions of how was it.
Yeah, that's why. Exactly. So 17th April, man. So kudos to the game studio, to the game developer. Looks pretty cool. And we'll put a link to the trailer.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Cool.
Awesome. So 3rd episode of the week.
Yeah.
Exciting week next week with our live show. So remember, if you're new to the podcast, if you've been listening for a while and haven't told someone yet, it'd be great if you could. And follow us on all our social media platforms, which is Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit, of course.
And Telegram as well.
And Telegram, yeah. And
and if you want to work with us, check out ministryoffunny.com or email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody, and talk to y'all soon.